The sound of imagination and dreaming. The process of creative awakening. Breath. Introduction. These reflections explore how music can guide us to cultivate optimal flow in life, using our daily challenges and obstacles as materials for personal growth and creative awakening. Through this, I invite you to embrace what I describe as musical thinking, a way of navigating the world with the rhythm, fluidity, spontaneity, and creative resonance found in music. The thoughts, ideas, responses, sounds, notes that emerge when I'm in a musical, flowing state, for example, are very distinct from those that reverberate when I'm in a stressed or agitated state. Observing and studying the juxtaposition between stress and flow, between dissonance and resolution, sound and silence, listening and expression, has provided a framework for understanding my personal psychological patterns, my sticky thinking, and limitations, while simultaneously helping me channel new ideas that loosen me up, transform this thinking, and open new creative horizons and possibilities. The ultimate joy in this process lies in the profound sense of freedom experienced when you enter a flow state, coupled with the gradual awakening to the realization that this flow arises from the core of your being. It's the essence of you and your birthright. The freedom and boundless creativity that emerges when we engage musically and imaginatively with life's tasks, challenges, and obstacles serves as a guiding light, illuminating our unique path, revealing both our limitations and our potential, while offering profound insight into the transformative healing process so beautifully embodied in music. One of our primary obstacles, as we know, is the mind and how it reacts and interprets the experiences, thoughts, and emotions that arise in our daily lives. It's not that there's anything inherently wrong with the mind itself. It's about how we choose to engage with it, levering its strengths while understanding its limitations. I've increasingly come to realize that music offers profound lessons on how to use the mind optimally. A large part of what I'm exploring here relates to how we balance our brain hemisphere functionality, how we regulate our breath, relax our bodies, and channel our emotions through healthy creative expression, and how this in turn opens us to new ways of understanding ourselves, our nature, and our purpose. By highlighting the connection between music and life, I hope to help others recognize and experience their inherently musical nature, one rooted in an intelligent sonic frequency that awakens deep intuition, fostering healthier creative choices that support personal healing and our collective evolution. A caveat. This story is about how we change and grow, and change, while essential, is rarely easy. Our habits and ways of being are deeply ingrained, making it natural to resist new perspectives, emotions, and understandings. Learning to sit with discomfort and embrace resistance as part of the journey is crucial. This tension between old patterns and new possibilities is at the heart of all transformation. In creativity as in life, this process often involves a necessary struggle, a healthy suffering, as we stretch and grow. The process of transformation isn't just personal either. It mirrors the shifts happening in our broader culture today. Shifts with profound and urgent consequences for our societal well-being and future flourishing. In many respects, I feel our culture is responding to current challenges with a sense of panic and fear, and that's no way to create great music. We must learn to ground ourselves, relax, make space for one another to breathe, to be, to listen and express. We are not educated to make space in life. That's clear. If there is any empty time in our schedule, we feel guilty and do all we can to fill it up with either work, entertainment, or distractions. Nothingness in our society has little value. Yet it might just be the antidote to the everything all at onceness that is jamming our frequency. Similarly, we see silence as a vacuum rather than the outer shape of sound. So with a calm yet pressing awareness of the vital need for grounding, we begin with breath. As I take a deep breath, eyes closed, my back aligns. I tense and release my shoulders and continue breathing until I feel an internal shift. A relaxing sensation emanates from deep within. And I go on with the task at hand. This scenario, a habitual reflex action that's taken years to embody, inspires this first reflection on breath. My aim is to translate my musical thinking into a creative wisdom that is practical and helpful for people from diverse walks of life, not just musicians. The ideas I'm exploring here have evolved over many years, first emerging as a guitar method, then a broader philosophy of music making, ultimately morphing into an understanding of the role musical thinking can play in helping us transform, heal, and transcend the challenges and obstacles we face individually and culturally. Inspired by my natural tendency to wander, improvise, experiment, and tinker with thoughts and ideas about life, music, spirituality, culture, and society, I've been mapping the creative tools that support optimal performance in music and building applicable life correlations that I feel are profoundly relevant at this time. The deeper I breathe, the deeper I relax and feel the interconnected nature of life and my desire to support those who are struggling to find peace in this disintegrated, hyper-tense materialist culture is heightened. My passion for cultivating peace and freedom extends particularly to young people at this time. Entering a world where, despite the time-saving technology we've invented, there is less time to grow up at your own pace, more pressure to conform, and more controlling, emotive, manipulative messaging emanating from those who know better but are paid to look away. Like the frog in boiling water, we sense the temperature rise but push our feelings back, distract ourselves and submerge our awareness into the depth of our unconscious parts and limber on. I return to breath. Here I'm able to sit a moment and feel. I sense a rushing within, that drive to do the things you've got to do, to be the person you want to be, to create the things you want to create. The internal motivation that's driven me in the past to achieve things can also turn on itself, can back up, get muddled, ultimately generating a form of white noise that equates to society's accepted stress murmur, the buzz of the ever-active ego. Another pause, another breath. and a subtle rebalancing of energies slows me down internally. My frequency lightens, my vibration shifts, and my consciousness expands. So that blissful peace, followed by an unwanted disruption. My computer crashes somehow as I'm composing these ideas. Trancing out on these themes, my blissful workflow is interrupted. Maybe I've lost some work in the process, or perhaps there's a bigger tech issue I'm about to confront, as I have in the past. A subtle yet ancient reptilian energy stirs within, and correlating thoughts begin to rumble. The universe is working against me, right in the moment of exquisite connection and purpose. Why now? Why at this moment? I question myself and reflect on what I'm working on through a different lens. Who am I to collect and share these ideas? Who even needs to hear this? There's plenty of other people writing about these themes. In fact, wise people have been teaching and writing about them for millennia. What can I possibly offer here? And where does this self-doubt and questioning come from? In the face of a challenge, you know what's really moving within you, how you really feel deep down about life. When we don't get what we want, our negative emotions arise. Then we try to control the situation. Our managing selves come in, and the only solution is any solution. And the quicker the fix, the better. This little moment actually happened, like a gift, to teach me where I and most of us collectively are at. What we still have to learn. I've been here so many times before. That's why this first article reflection focuses on the breath. The struggles, challenges, dark and negative emotions, and a yearning search for solutions, counter strategies led me to breath. Initially as a way of coping with intense performance scenarios, exams and workload pressures, then to the harder work of dealing with the unsettling emotions and thought patterns, and ultimately as a doorway to the inner realm of creative potentiality. If we take musical performance or any performative situation, public speaking, a work presentation, exam, a sporting moment, or simple social context where you have to be somebody, we all appreciate the juxtaposition of emotions and our search for resolutions. You feel nerves, anxiousness, pressure, resistance, and you fight this. You learn to cope. Get your lines, notes, words, ideas right, and launch into the moment as best you can. The outcome is mixed. Success, failure, avoidance, all the above, and you go on. Is this it? Is this just the way we are built and the way life is built around us? From my current vantage point as a musician, a teacher, among other things, this is what it is. There is no escape from the cycle of learning, emerging through our birth and dissolving through our death. It can be a wicked cycle. For some, a gravely serious cycle of self-judgment, despondency, anxiety, and depression, leading to all sorts of toxic solutions. In a way, all our coping mechanisms are toxic to an extent, as they strangle, stifle, and suppress the very knowledge and awareness we require to transcend the cycle, even if temporarily. Like a whale breaching the surface of the water to breathe, only to descend back into the depths of life, swimming with and against the current, playing, communicating, surviving, being. I take another breath and scan this first journal entry. We're all in our own unique learning cycle. Like our breath, there is a particular movement and flow. in, out, up, down, long, short, expansion, contraction, tension, release. As our breath cycle repeats of its own volition, can we consciously, voluntarily, slow down enough to observe what's actually going on within us? How we actually feel. Here you come to know that while your breath breathes autonomously, the attention you place on your breath naturally adjusts its flow. And the observation process activates a spontaneous regulation that realigns your brain functionality. You shift from a tighter, narrow focus to an immersive, expansive resonance, one that calms your inner waters and ignites a clarity of purpose and provides the inner freedom to make fresh choices and interpretations. One of those interpretations could be that when things don't go your way, on the micro or macro level, you pause and breathe long enough to surrender to what is. Accept the situation without reacting or responding. If you can hold on to this surrendered state long enough to avoid your normal negative mental response, you might develop the power and capacity to evolve new responses and interpretations. Not unlike the way musicians improvise, you have a theme, a story, a problem that requires a subtle pivot or adjustment to balance a mistake or divergent situation. The problem then becomes an opening to a new idea or path, a fresh musical iteration, a new perspective. Learning to turn mistakes or challenges into positives is as fundamental for an artist as it is for any human being, so knowing how artists do it is useful and applicable. Musicians, particularly improvising musicians, become adept at turning mistakes into new themes and ideas. They do this through practice. The more you play, explore, and try things out, the more comfortable you become generating new ideas. You become comfortable with the process as you learn how to adapt and vary melodies and harmonies spontaneously. You learn that your body is your friend, so you need to be in touch with how your body works and how it serves the music. From here you become better at observing and concentrating on learning specific skills. The immersion process stabilizes breathing, harmonizes cognitive activity, and allows the music to flow. But there are obstacles naturally. Our minds also ask questions and interpret proceedings with distracting thoughts. Your emotions sit behind this process as your motivations become skewed or intentions blurred. Why am I doing this? Is this music any good? Who is this music for? What even does it mean? And if you're a professional artist, how the hell am I going to sustain a living out of this in today's world? So, what was a wonderfully inspiring flow of musical magic can easily, as I can attest, turn into torturous self-reprisals, creative resistance, and blocks that can turn everything upside down. I've had many such situations, particularly while researching for my PhD, learning to translate musical discoveries into cogent arguments about new modes of practice, historical methodologies, or purely learning to write coherent reflections on what I was experiencing. The ultimate resolution was not academic, it was the breath. I literally had to force myself to develop a strategy of applied mini meditations, focusing on the breath at regular intervals throughout every layer of my research, from playing to writing. This helped me develop a natural way of transcending the stress that emerged through my work, while simultaneously unleashing more creative flow and artistic discovery in the process. In concluding my PhD, I mapped the tools I felt were conducive to optimal performance outcomes in improvised music. And central to many of these tools, openness, simplicity, freedom, etc., was breath awareness. As you play the game of life, as you sing your song metaphorically, reflect on the role breath plays in shaping your experience of it all. How you bring rhythm and dynamics to your daily tasks. One of the early applications of the practice of breath awareness was through household chores. One of my least favourite tasks has always been putting washing on the line. For a few reasons. I'm busy, it is a disruption to more creative explorations, but I'm also tall, so as I rush to get the task done, I'm often bumping my head and getting tangled in the clothesline. I didn't consciously say, okay, time to develop optimal clothesline performance strategies, but there was a flow-on effect from my research. It happened naturally because I could feel the same frustration and impatience I felt with music that I felt putting clothes on the line. So it just started happening that I'd put my attention on my breath, learn to slow down a bit, gradually learning to enjoy a task, or rather be at peace with a task that would have previously agitated me. Some would call this mindfulness, and maybe it is, but you don't need a label. Just the breath awareness will do. I'm sure you can list your agitations on more than one hand. They come daily, swiping through your news feed, in difficult discussions with family or work colleagues, during a state of boredom or apathy, or in response to an unsettling situation. So ask yourself, how could I handle this musically? How could there be a sonic flow to the situation? Firstly, you must understand the distinction between sound and silence, expressing and listening, and how together they make music through sound and in life. Learning to balance these elements takes practice. While my perspective is experiential and spiritual, there is hard science behind the power of breathwork. Slowing down our breath cycle releases endorphins, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and nitric oxide, creating a sense of calm, well-being, and a mild euphoria. Though science can quantify the benefits of breathwork, meditation, and mindfulness, it begs the question how something so natural, beneficial, something embodied across cultures and traditions for millennia, can slip out of our collective consciousness to the point we have to re-educate ourselves in this way. A famous mystic once commented that there are two ways to find peace in the world: through your thoughts and attitude, or through your breath. We should work hard to get our minds right, our perception, but when that fails, as surely life situations will make it impossible just to think better, you breathe deep and long. Find your flow with your breath, patiently, repeatedly, observing, feeling your whole body in the process, allowing your mind, your interpretation, opinion, perspective to dissolve as you dive deeper into yourself. Though breathwork seems like an activity you turn to in a crisis, and it is, the more profound impact is felt when you develop a natural ability to drop away from the task at hand for a moment and reset through breath. Just as space in music provides context, shape, rhythm, and beauty, so too the breath gives shape to our being. This is the moment that makes music in you. Your vibration shifts, As you go about your day, you might even spontaneously start singing, dancing, or smiling, even internally, as your being expresses its most natural essence. The hope is that through practices such as breathwork, we detach sufficiently from the task at hand and the identity that becomes entangled in this process to remember what is precious about who we are, the defining internal characteristic of selfhood, which is musical in nature, ever-flowing, eternal.